Hey guys, so I'm coming to you with the aftermath on the 1998 Chevrolet Lumina, and it is safe to say that this car is done. Doesn't look so bad, but believe me, it's bad. So I just wanted to first off say, first of all, if you haven't seen the video or the GoPro footage, I ended up taking second in my heat with this car. And the reason I got taken out, I got stuck. Kind of sucks, but what are you supposed to do? There is more to why I got stuck. Of course, I got a flat tire and lost all steering, but I'll talk about that in just a second. First, I want to talk about everybody who came up to me and a bunch of fans and everybody else that came up to me. I just wanted to say thank you, and it was nice talking to everybody. And really did meet a lot of good people, a lot of fans, and it's always good to meet new people, so thank you everybody for that, and thank you everybody who congratulated me on a pretty decent run. So let's get to the car. I will not be running at Herkimer again, ever, unless they change their people. I will explain that in another video, but that's going to be a whole separate video, and I'll be talking about everything that's been going on at Herkimer for the past few years, not just this year, and why I'm never going to run there again. Because it just, if you're not a, well, let's just say, if you don't pay attention to the rules, you're going to win, and they don't care. So I'll just leave it there. And it's not going to be against really any of the other drivers. It's just how they run the event, and I'll explain that in another video. But trunk didn't move really at all. This trunk is unbelievably solid. Unbelievably solid. I thought for sure. I stopped using the trunk about halfway through because I thought this trunk was completely gone. I couldn't have been more wrong. This trunk has barely moved since the last Derby. It moved a little bit. I don't even think it budged on this side. On this side, it did move only about maybe an inch, maybe two. And that was only because the frame that was on the bottom that had gone down just pushed more down. And it was actually getting more level as it was packing in, which was making it very nice on everything back here. Because you don't want it pulling up too far and you don't want it pulling down too far. It was coming in nice and square, and it made it extremely, extremely tough. Honestly, if I could run this car again, I just almost like totally ignore the front end and just use the back end most of the time. Honestly, there's so much more life left in this back end. I thought for sure taking that Camry, when he was hitting me with his front end, I thought for sure he was bending this back end way more than I thought. And honestly, it almost felt like the front end was weaker than the back end. It was unbelievable. This back end took a ton of abuse. I mean, just a ton of abuse. And it really hasn't collapsed any more than what it did in the last Derby. I don't even really see that many more wrinkles on the floor. I'll take out the back seat. I got to take out the back seat anyway to take out the gas tank cover, which I've already started to strip. This video has actually taken over a week after the Derby. I'll explain that in just a little bit from very unfortunate news. Plus on top of the fact I'm going to college, so it's kind of tough on me. So let's adjust the frame. I'm going to start with this side of the front end. I did take some more hits on the doors, but you know, whatever, you're going to get those. And I also want to adjust, this was an extremely muddy Derby, guys. I don't know if you could tell, probably could. This was an extremely muddy Derby because we had just been hit by what was left of a tropical storm or even a hurricane at one point. So it was very, very muddy, and that's another thing I have to address in that video, why I'm never going to run at Herkimer again. I have to address that as well. This frame rail, other than bending right here, is almost still straight. Very impressive. This frame rail definitely took a lot of hard shots. I think the subframe does have a small kink on this side, not too bad. It hasn't really even started to bend in where they usually bend back here. I don't see any type of seam separation, any type of bending. So this frame rail, you could probably still get away with using it. Now this frame rail over here is the one that went to absolute crap. And that, I think, a big part of that, and you guys will see after I open the hood, of exactly what happened. And I think I know why this frame rail went to crap so quick, and why it just failed me pretty well and good. As you guys can see, this is very reminiscent of the 1997 Buick Century aftermath. As far as the frame goes, the front end here barely has moved, and it's bent, kinked all the way in the back end, back there, and even back in here. You guys can see that's all starting to crack apart, so it's actually starting to move at the firewall. But, which usually does not happen in a bone stock derby, but it happened to this car, just because I think it was just so solid. But anyhow, that's why this car is not going to run again. It's because of this frame rail right here. It's basically hit the dust, and I would run it again if I could patch it, but once you patch that frame, you got to run in a much more built derby, and that frame rail will never be as strong as it once was. And that frame rail over there, once again, will never be as straight as it once was. So, unfortunately, this car is done because of that. And under the hood here, you'll be able to see even more of that. Let me go ahead and throw the hood back. There we go. So what ended up happening is I ended up popping a tire on this side of the car, and that's one reason why the core support is so messed up on this side, is because I think he was just hitting right here, and it was just bending the crap out of my core support, and also pushing this frame down. Believe it or not, the subframe actually dropped down, and that's why I lost the steering on this side of the car, which really is why I got out. It's because I couldn't steer anymore, and I couldn't steer myself out of that mud hole I had developed at the very end there. And believe it or not, guys, when the derby was all said and done, after all that, his car didn't start up. It was that close. If his car had stalled, which it already had been, if his car had stalled one more time, I probably could have won that derby, but unfortunately, I just had too much damage done to my car, and I couldn't steer anymore, and he was able to keep his car running. So good driving by Dylan Archer. Shout out to him. He was a great guy, and really was a pleasure to run with him. Yeah, he really destroyed my car. That's pretty much all I got to say. He did some very nasty shots, and what I wanted to address earlier, as you guys can see under the hood, when this shot was done, he was hitting me in the wall in the very back. You guys will see it. He hit me quite a few times, and he hit me right here, and it pushed this frame over. What ended up happening, I think, is when it did that, it pushed this entire system over, and this bumper is actually pretty solid, believe it or not. I mean, even though it's torn in half right here, and it was actually going to end up probably tearing all the way in half, this bumper's still surprisingly straight and very solid. And what ended up happening is it ended up pushing this entire frame wheel. It kinked over, and that was what bent back here, because there's a weak spot back here, obviously, with these Luminas. When you're hitting straight on, these Luminas are really stiff. But once they bend back here, it's over. It's over for these Luminas. So when that happened, it kinked my frame over, and once he started hitting me, and especially because my car was so low to the ground, it just pushed my frame down and in, down and in, down and in, and then I lost my subframe, and that was all she wrote. I'll go ahead and show you guys the steering shaft actually popped out. You guys can actually see it pretty well. There it is, and you can actually almost see the other end. There it is. There's the other end. You guys can kind of see it behind those lines, where it's supposed to be. I was actually attempting to fix this car, and so I could drive it off the trailer and do an aftermath like that, but I just don't think it's worth fixing it, and it'd be just easier to keep on the trailer to strip anyway. This car is going to get stripped today as much as I can, and unfortunately this motor's going to end up getting scrapped. It only has 55,000 miles, brand new head gasket, brand new intake gaskets. Still a lot of life in this motor. I'll actually fire it up for you guys so you guys can hear that. It looks like I have developed a gas leak, so I gotta keep my time short here. I've ended up actually having a pretty bad gas leak from my return hose, it looks like. I just ran it. I just had this is my my second retake for today, but there it goes. You guys can see we got a pretty bad gas leak right there, but as you guys can see, still runs really nicely. By the way, I did not take off that lower radiator hose. That popped off. So this radiator actually might still be good along with my cooling fans. My cooling fans both actively turn. I'm not going to turn the thing on, the switch on, but they still probably would turn on. So it runs really friggin' good still, and I have no doubt it could have gone through another at least one derby. Let me go ahead and shut this thing off before I end up having a fire from gas. And there you guys have it. The Lumina still runs. I already took my roof sign off. I already started to strip this thing, guys. Sorry about that, but the Lumina still runs very well. It could drive. I could pop it and drive right now, and it would start driving forward. And reverse. I mean, this thing still wants to move, but unfortunately it's just too far gone. So alrighty, and then I get to the very unfortunate news, which I had already said I had some. Other than both the GoPro footage and the heat footage from the stand I should say, were saved. Those were saved, and those will be going up before this video. Unfortunately, when I went to start to post videos, my SD card said failed, or basically said, please format, cannot read. And it says, in order to format the SD card, you must delete all footage. All footage will be deleted off of the SD card. So, with very unfortunate news, we have lost basically all of Herkimer. I've run my father has run 2 backups when I was in college. He's run 2 backup or recoveries on the SD card to try to save as much footage as possible. And I've gotten 1 heat back from Thursday night. The last heat of the night, I actually believe. I'm not even sure what heat it was at this point. So unfortunately, we have lost basically all of Herkimer, which I actually considered some of my best recording ever, and it was a great show. A lot of people put on a great show with a lot of hard hitting, and unfortunately I've lost basically all of it. So it's very unfortunate. It's a real shame. So I'm gonna end up posting the 1 heat I do have. All it really saved from Herkimer was thumbnails of each of the heats. Just a terrible, terrible mess. So luckily I did get my heat, and also the GoPro footage was saved. That was on a separate SD card, actually the one I'm recording with right now. And it was probably my fault that the SD card failed in the first place, because I did some things with it that I shouldn't have, like pulling it out of the computer without safely ejecting it. You have to actually go through Windows and all that crap, but not Windows, but you have to do computer stuff with it in order to safely eject it. And I've learned my lesson, because I think that's probably what did it in. It's possible maybe it wasn't my fault, but either way, the footage is basically lost. So unfortunately we lost most of Herkimer, but I've learned my lesson, and hopefully this will not happen again. This does happen with camera equipment. That's why you always keep multiple SD cards around. and also immediately as soon as you get home, you also save that footage to whatever device that you're going to be uploading it on, or on a separate hard drive. Can't stress it enough, guys. Don't let it happen to you like it happened to me. So unfortunately, it looks like we've lost all of Herkimer basically. So stay tuned for more videos on the Lumina. I'm going to be stripping it out here, and more videos just in general. The Camry is sold, and well, I'm in college now, so the videos are going to slow down a whole lot around here. So stay tuned, bear with me, and hopefully I'll still keep on getting as much content out as I can. Alrighty, like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye bye, everybody.